The movie's first scene features Hizuo, an amazing student studying mathematics at the University of Sydney. Because of her high IQ, Hizuo's acute mind focuses on numbers and difficult equations. In addition to these activities, she likes Sudoku puzzles as a hobby, which is very different from the typical hobbies related to her gender. She has a special mix of interests that includes a fondness for boxing, taekwondo, and martial arts. Currently, Hizuo is actively engaged in the development of a method for discovering true love. She feels that this work is essential to both societies and mankind's improvement. In the ensuing scene, we see Hizuo entering the professor's office. She is determined to convince her professors about the viability of her academic research. The professor wonders how she can prove anything with the formula like love. She also informs Hizuo that the topic of her dissertation has already cost her her scholarship. Hizuo, though, keeps outlining her vision and guidelines in great detail. She is still adamant in her opinion that her groundbreaking method has the ability to help people all across the world discover their ideal mate. She emphasizes that her formula has the power to save countless people from failing marriages and comfort children. She continues by saying that society as a whole might greatly reduce the problems brought on by shattered families. Yet the professor is adamant that she change her topic or risk failing to get her degree. She additionally informs her that even though the dissertation defense is quickly approaching, her research funding is still insecure, costing her a significant amount that she is unable to pay. In response to the professor's caution, Hizuo shows proof of stress, but maintains her resolve. She passionately promotes her study among her university peers, and radiates unflinching faith in it. However, a student playing a guitar with his friends ignores her as she approaches the podium to begin discussing what she has discovered so far. She finally succeeds in getting their attention back though, and she elaborates on her real love method for finding the right companion. Students start to assemble around her. She informs them that she puts her real love method through an experimental test on Lily, her roommate. Hizuo had previously employed the algorithm from her formula to successfully pair Lily with an ideal companion. Lily's name, height, weight, characteristics, educational background, and interests were the only things she needed to have knowledge of. She explains that after taking into account age harmony and interactions with 3 possible partners, the ideal match emerges. Hizuo encounters skepticism from several of her peers in the campus when she outlines her ideal pair theory. She tries to speak with Lily, nevertheless, to support her argument. Unfortunately, the experiment was unsuccessful. Hizuo was shocked and astonished at learning of Lily's split and mental suffering, even to the point of standing on the edge of a cliff, prepared to take an extreme step. Hizuo had put careful thought into her genuine love formula, but she is greatly discouraged by this unanticipated turn of events. The scene shifts when Lily jumps from a cliff and into the water. Issei, a young man, happens to be there and rescues her while she is still unresponsive, following her plunging into the ocean. Issei, a musician from Beijing, was photographing and investigating the aquatic world when Lily unintentionally fell on him. Issei pulls her from the water and provides first aid right away, allowing her to breathe again and stay alive. Lily confesses her wish to get back together with Issei, after mistaking him for Chenyu when she first wakes up. Issei believes that she is hallucinating. Simultaneously, when Hizuo gets to Lily's place, she sees Issei caring for her. Hizuo mistakenly interprets Issei's actions as harassment, and feels that he is a possible threat. She dashes over to her friend, trying to deter Issei by striking him in the head, bringing him down. Hizuo embraces Lily right away and takes her back to her house. Later that evening, Lily is shown sitting in her room, clearly upset, with tears rolling down her face. She reveals to Hizuo that her failing method has caused her a great deal of anguish. Hizuo feels bad about Lily's situation, and swears to improve the genuine love formula so that no further mistakes may occur. Hizuo immediately goes back to her computer and continues her research, while creating a new equation for her perfect relationship project. She decides to participate in this experiment, despite having never been in a romantic relationship before. She begins conducting calculations to identify her perfect partner using the newly devised algorithm. The ideal mate for Hizuo is likely to turn up in Beijing, according to the results of the true love formula. She begins to think about how she will be able to pay her scholarship funds. Then suddenly, something comes to her mind. The guitarist at her university suggests that she go to the red light area and take a few paparazzi photos, which may get her a few $1,000s. She slowly starts to take his words into account. Later at night, determined, she heads to the district, leaving her regular surroundings behind. She takes pictures of many of the people she observes. We depict her focused on her objective when, by accident, she notices Issei talking to one of the night workers out in the distance. Issei is just asking for the directions to the aquarium. Nevertheless, Hizuo immediately assumes that Issei is harassing the girl once more. She rushes up to him and berates him for, in her opinion, undervaluing and misinterpreting the girl's work. Issei is shocked when she abruptly scolds him, hits him in the face, and runs away. The day Hizuo is traveling back to Beijing is depicted in the next sequence. She packs her baggage as she prepares to go for the airport. In the meantime, Issei, too, readies himself to travel to Beijing. Issei runs into his crush, Kaio, once the plane lands at the airport. He takes his courage in both hands and conveys his feelings for her, asking her to be his girlfriend while holding a lovely arrangement of flowers. However, destiny takes a surprising turn. Hizue, who is there, interprets the situation improperly and believes Issei is making fun of Kaio. Quickly stepping in, she confronts Issei. Since Kaio misread the entire situation and believes Issei to be a pervert, she turns down his offer and leaves. Issei's confession is rejected, and he grows furious with Hizue and accuses her of being the reason. Hizue immediately understands her error. Lily's ex-boyfriend Chenyi is not Issei. She quickly apologizes and departs. Shortly after that, Issei finds out his suitcase has been stolen. Following that, when Hizue arrives at the hotel reception desk with her dog, she discovers that she took Issei's bags by accident, since hers were left at the airport. As a result, she is left without her ID card, money, or a place to stay. She is forced to leave the hotel with her dog, and is thus left in a state of confusion. She contacts the airport right away, in order to locate and get her belongings. Suddenly, an officer comes up to her and asks for her dog's identity card as she continues walking down the streets without any destination. And since she does not have one, she runs away with her dog, to stop them from taking it from her. Eventually, she successfully eludes the cops after a drawn-out chase. The moment Hizue discovers Issei's address on the suitcase, she heads straight towards his house. Issei tries to prevent her from stepping into his apartment, yet she persists. She decides to stay at his place until her baggage is found. And despite being rejected by Issei, she is determined to stay with her dog. At this point, Issei's problems start. One day, Hizue's dog is involved in a situation. Issei suffers bruises and bleeds after being bitten by the dog. He is in excruciating pain, so he runs to the hospital to get treated and have surgery. When he gets home from the hospital, Hizue is sound asleep in his bed. He makes many failed attempts to take back his bed. He must thus sleep on the sofa as a result. But because her dog stayed with her all night, he has trouble falling asleep. The following morning, Issei attempts to wake Hizue up from her sleep, when she suddenly hugs Issei and cries out for her mother. She does, however, push him away as soon as she opens her eyes. After that, we witness Hizue carrying out her genuine love research to its conclusion. She reveals to Issei the specifics of the formula, and predicts that her true love will appear on September 23, 2015, between 9 and 10 in the morning. Issei laughs out loud as soon as he hears Hizue, since he thinks her study is completely absurd. He believes that her attempts to understand true love are unreasonable. He recalls his own foolish attempts to captivate Kaio and gain her affection as he muses about her. He recounts to Hizue how he even wrote a song for her, but in vain. Issei learns from Hizue that she has taken part in blind dates organized by a dating website. Issei, however, offers a different strategy for locating possible candidates for her. He suggests they meet Mrs. Liu so she can get assistance. At their encounter, Hizue unexpectedly declares that she needs 4 dozen of them, startling both Mrs. Liu and Issei. Hizue sets off on a journey to meet numerous guys as a result. Despite talking to 48 different men with a range of personalities, none expresses any interest in her. Meanwhile, Issei is saddened when Kaio ignores him in favor of going to a concert with her friend. Ms. Liu therefore counsels Hizue to think about altering her look, in order to convey a more feminine impression. The scene then progresses to Hizue changing her appearance by straightening her hair and using makeup. Issei laughs aloud at her hilarious behavior after her transformation. Later that night, Ms. Liu invites Hizue to a bar and tells her about a group of tomboys who are dealing with similar relationship issues. They intend to consider the lessons they might have absorbed from their previous failed relationships. We observe Hizue and Issei in the middle of the discussion when they unintentionally see Kaio. Hizue encourages Issei to go up to Kaio and confess his feelings. Hizue explains to her that the airport meeting was only a case of mistaken identification. But before Issei is able to proceed on his confession, Kaio interrupts and introduces Issei as her bromeo to the man standing next to her. Sadly, Ji-young is Kaio's new boyfriend. Issei is terribly devastated by this news, but manages to hide it by forcing an artificial grin. Ji-young is shocked when Hizue reveals that Issei is the one who wrote the famous song for Kaio. Hizue seeks to persuade Issei to break off his relationship with Kaio through providing an alternate viewpoint on sincere relationships. Just before leaving the bar, Kaio offends Hizue by claiming that her tomboy image will prevent her from finding love and foreseeing a life of loneliness. In the next scene, we witness Issei's devastation up close. He is thinking back on all he has done to win Kaio's heart, just to watch her choose another man. Hizue is committed to helping him find relief as his roommate. At the lunch table during the following few days, Hizue and Issei provide consolation to one another, strengthening their relationship. Hizue recounts her shattered family and her parents' troubled marriage in detail. The sadness brought on by their divorce has ruined her childhood. She remembers the summer evening when her parents broke the news of their separation. This event strengthens her resolve to develop a real love formula in order to protect children from the effects of parental divorce. Issei displays sympathy after knowing this and begins to understand Hizuu's actions. Hizuo agrees to his playful suggestion that he play the role of her loser's boyfriend candidate for one day. On the subsequent day, they act as though they are a real couple, playing sports, making poses for the camera, dancing, baking, and completing household chores all together. Later that evening, they dine out, share laughs over beers, and enjoy each other's company. They saunter through the streets into the vicinity of a tattoo parlor, where they challenge each other and step inside for tattoos. Upon indulging in this spontaneous endeavor, they proceed to the location where Hizuo is set to meet her ideal man on the 23rd of September. Before concluding the night, Issei serenades her with a song about mathematics, evoking genuine laughter. Dancing and embracing beneath the starlit sky, they bond more deeply than ever before. On their way back home, Issei is abruptly confronted by Kaio. She questions him about her unreturned calls and looks at his relationship with Hizuo. Hizuo reveals to her that they are roommates, but Kaio brushes her off and grabs Issei's hand instead, requesting a private talk. Hizuo clings to his other hand tightly, nevertheless. Issei finds himself obliged to pick between Kaio and Hizuo. Hizuo is unhappy and disappointed after learning that he decides to accompany Kaio. She returns home alone and takes her dog with her to bed. In the following scene, we learn that a Chinese company developing a mobile application is taking charge of Hizuo's research. Hizuo is happily making her way to the company with a strong commitment to seize this chance. She runs into Ji-young, who also happens to be the administrator at the app company, and is Kaio's lover, by coincidence when she goes to the meeting to sign the contract. Hizuo is welcomed into Ji-young's office, who then outlines that he has researched her love formula. Hizuo is delighted as Ji-young elaborates further, expressing his excitement for the project's advancement. She subsequently accepts Ji-young's challenge to play a Sudoku game with him. Shortly after, he is astounded by her intelligence, and learns that they have a similar pastime when she ultimately wins. Subsequently, Issei tries to apologize from her when she gets home, but she ignores him and refers to him as her loser boyfriend. Upon entering the room, her heart starts to beat quickly and abruptly, but she decides to ignore it and concentrate solely on her love equation. Hizuo and Ji-young are beginning to spend more time together as a result of their work responsibilities. They start having extended conversations that give them the chance to argue from a variety of perspectives. Their relationship grows stronger, and Ji-young starts to harbor affections for her. Given their close bond, this is having an effect on Ji-young's relationship with Kaio. Later, when Hizuo gets home, she informs Issei that Ji-young is her boss, which leaves him jealous and upset. But he is determined to help her find a potential partner. Hizuo encounters Du Jingsu the following morning. Hizuo consents to go on a date with him as part of her experiment, despite his odd behavior. The focus changes to Ji-young's company's 5th anniversary party as the plot moves to September 20th, only 3 days before Hizuo is scheduled to meet her ideal man. Hizuo attends the event with Issei and Du Jingsu, while Ji-young arrives with Kaio. Later in the evening, Ji-young delivers a speech commemorating the company's annual anniversary. He also announces the launch of the True Love formula application created and developed by Hizuo, which garners a big round of applause from the audience. After that, during a chat, Hizuo continues to irritate Kaio, and as a challenge, Kaio proposes a sexy dance-off. Hizuo accepts right away, dancing seductively in the middle of the guests. She captures everyone's attention and wins the challenge. That is when Ji-young decides on breaking up with Kaio out of disappointment and rage, which completely shatters her heart. After rescuing Hizuo, Issei brings her home. They both awaken the following morning, Hizuo having no memory of anything. Issei clarifies that after she got drunk and brought home, her tomboy girlfriends helped her get to bed. She becomes angry when she learned that Kaio hired Hizuo's loser boyfriend. Later, while Issei looks into his shelves, Hizuo catches sight of a picture of a well-known math professor. She inquires about it and learns that he is Issei's father. And since she loves math, she asks him to give her the photo, and tries even to seduce him, but he escapes to the kitchen. She then tells him about Ji-young inviting her to dinner, setting Issei off to the extent where he breaks a bowl. The moments that follow reveal Hizuo and Ji-young spending time together and playing Sudoku. We depict the crucial conversation between Issei and Kaio that is taking place in the following sequence. Issei frankly admits that he had been waiting for Kaio, contemplating the idea that love entails waiting for someone. However, he has come to a realization that completely alters his understanding of love. He eventually understands that the synchronized beat of two hearts beating in harmony is what true love sounds like. Hizuo and he have had plenty of memories together. He looks back on their first meeting, their first fight at the airport, and how their relationship has developed from being roommates to being solid friends, with each passing day deepening their connection. Issei spends his time tirelessly at home on a song that was inspired by the strong bond he has with Hizuo and the priceless memories they have gathered. The story then cuts to a later moment, where Issei takes the stage and performs the song he wrote in honor of his love. Hee-woo starts to notice her developing affections for him at this precise time. Even though she has feelings for Yi-si, her emotions get confused when she uses a true love application, allegedly discovering that Ji-young is her ideal man. Paradoxically, Yi-si has complete control over Hee-woo's heart. Hee-woo struggles with her heart's conflicted devotion and turns to her friend Lily for guidance. Hee-woo decides to go in a different direction, despite Lily's advice that she should listen to her heart. The scene switches to September 23rd, an important day in the narrative when Hee-woo will be meeting her supposed true love, Ji-young, and her destiny will take an unexpected turn. Hee-woo shows up in the park to meet Ji-young at the scheduled time of 9, but it is pouring down with rain. Yi-si quickly awakens at the same time and rushes to get on his bicycle, in an effort to catch up with Hee-woo and express his feelings. Unfortunately, Ji-young also arrives at precisely the same time as him. Hee-woo walks towards direction of Yi-si, who feels delighted that she decided on being with him. But instead of her choosing him, she only hands him the umbrella and then approaches Ji-young. Yi-si's heart is broken for the second time at that painful moment. The subsequent day sees Yi-si confiding in Kyo about his impending return to Sydney. Before parting ways, he gives his song to Kyo, who declines, expressing her desire to craft her own music after years of relying on the best resources. Following this encounter, Kyo visits Hee-woo and delivers the song penned by Yi-si. She reveals it to be a manifestation of his love, and informs Hee-woo that Yi-si has departed with no intention of returning. As the song plays, Hee-woo's heart aches upon hearing Yi-si's voice and lyrics, compelling her to turn it off in sadness. The developing romance between Ji-young and Hee-woo is seen in later sequences. Hee-woo is troubled by an emptiness despite their shared activities, making her doubt the sincerity of her emotions. On her birthday, Ji-young unexpectedly extends her an invitation to dinner, which results in a shocking disclosure. Hee-woo hears an accompanying music, and knows it as Yi-si's composition. Ji-young makes an unforeseen marriage proposal at that moment. Hee-woo recognizes that her love formula is fundamentally incorrect, and that her heart is still devoted to Yi-si when faced with this important decision. She apologizes to Ji-young and rejects his offer. Hee-woo is propelled by her fresh insight as she races to see Yi-si, only to find that he has left for Sydney. She sheds a torrent of tears, since she feels so guilty for not appreciating the affection he showed her. As things go on, she starts to question the accuracy of her study. As she wraps up her research project, she travels back to Sydney. In a poignant meeting with her supervisor, Hee-woo meets a young man who turns out to be none other than Yi-si. Surprisingly, he is her supervisor's son. Hee-woo, overcome by emotion, confronts Yi-si about their lack of communication and the suffering she went through while looking for him. Yi-si tenderly holds her face between his hands as tears fall down her cheeks, a touching reminder of how important she believes tears to be. Hee-woo jumps on Yi-si, hugging him, and they seal their awaited reunion with passionate kisses. As soon as the movie ends, it becomes clear that keeping your sense of self and forming strong relationships with others are crucial for a full life.